I'm Jonny Smith.
I'm Richard Porter.
And this is Smith & Sniff, a podcast in which two friends talk about cars and many other things. I've turned into, Americans would call this the fall guy. I've turned into the fall guy very, very quickly in the last few weeks, I'm going to say.
Colt Seaver's fall guy, or as in someone who's taking the blame?
As in someone who's embracing autumn. So I thought I'd rather call myself the fall guy than autumn man, because autumn man sounds a bit crap, but the fall guy sounds better.
If you run it all together, Automan.
Oh, Automan.
I think that's that's like a 1970s.
Automan was a thing.
Was it?
I think Automan was a series in the 80s, probably around the time of the actual Fall Guy. I think I remember Automan. Yes, it was.
Oh.
It was. He had a car which I think was like a kit car Lamborghini or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, you.
I don't remember this. This was Glenn A. Larson, the one of the kings of 80s action.
And hair.
Yeah, and hair. God, Automan.
Automan.
But Automan, it's the same premise, but he doesn't need the car because he just loves fallen leaves and that smell of rotting apples on the ground. Well,
maybe Automan turns into Autumn Man because he can't do it all year round. It's too intense. So he's like, look, I could wear, a kind of neon lit onesie and drive around in a futuristic car, but actually what I want to do is just get some scented candles out and stack some logs. And that's what I've been doing. I'm wearing a lot of browns and oranges as well, Richard.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, very, very much the fall guy. I'm really loving it.
I did the other day put on a plaid shirt, as Americans would say.
Yes.
And some boots, and that felt quite autumnal. Autumn man.
But boots are a key feature. Absolutely
Definitely
key feature.
Good pair of boots. But I think we're on and off now into scarf territory as well. It's a little bit of winter foreplay, really, the scarf, isn't it, in autumn?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a massive fan of the neck buff, as some people will know from when I used to work on TV. I would often wear a neck buff. And sound engineers would love me for that, because we could squirrel microphones in extra places.
Don't worry, I've got a neck buff, and also I'm going to do the whole thing with one of those blankets they put around people who finish marathons.
Yes.
So deal with that as well. I wonder if Autumn Man does still have the car, but one of the things is, because it's in the 80s, that he was one of the first adopters of ABS, because of all of the skiddy, rotting leaves.
Slimy leaves.
/ lower temperatures, risk of ice coming in.
Yeah.
So Autumn Man was very much embraced anti-lock braking and possibly, even four-wheel drive as well.
Oh, yeah, he will have done. Maybe he's got an AMC Eagle as the Autumn Man. That's a lovely 80s Autumn Man car. I can imagine unloading some logs from the boot of an AMC Eagle, wearing some Timberlands and a plaid shirt.
Because I think the first time I saw an AMC Eagle in real life was on a farm in Canada.
Oh yeah, you said about this. Yeah,
is sort of autumnal, but I also think I'm picturing it more actually in sort of New England somewhere. But again, everyone always goes, you have to see New England in the fall. It's like when all the trees go and everything. So yeah. It's really beautiful. And so, but I feel like an AMC Eagle with that wood up the side, or faux wood, that is quite an autumnal car.
It is, isn't it? I'd very much like to own one. We've said this before. I would happily be Automan, fall guy with AMC Eagle. And then of course you could slip into winter guy with that. And you could easily make a cameo appearance on Wham's Last Christmas video, because that would smash its way up the ski route, wouldn't it? That would be able to go off piste, an AMC Eagle with some white letter tyres on it.
Exactly, it's just to put some decent tyres on it, and that is going anywhere.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what an equivalent autumnal car would be here, though? Like something you could have bought here? Because I just think an AMC Eagle is just somehow feels quite autumnal. But
yeah.
What is the equivalent here?
Is this 80? You specifically 80s you're looking for, or
yes. Why not? I don't know. I'm still looking at the parameters of this, but yes, let's say it is.
Because I originally was going to say, well, the original Audi Allroad is quite an old car now, which is scary.
Oh,
and I flipping love those, especially in bronzy colours, autumnal colours, Richard.
That green, I know it's not strictly autumnal, but it is quite a muted green, isn't it? So it's almost like it's a leaf on the
It's an old money green. I would call it old money green.
It is. The problem with those first-gen Allroads is that it was a 2.7 V6 diesel, twin-turbo, I think. Yeah. And when it was connected to the automatic gearbox in that car, you had turbo lag plus gearbox lag.
Yeah.
It was actually quite alarming trying to, say, pull onto a roundabout that was busy and you're just trying to find your gap, because you would mash the accelerator pedal and nothing would happen for what felt like 5 seconds, and you'd be like, oh, Jesus, no. You're going to get mown down by a Stobart lorry.
Which is always embarrassing when you know you've actually got a powerful car. You just can't find it.
Well, exactly, that's it. Once it was moving, it was fine. But yeah, I just remember that. So I think, but you could have a 4.2 V8 in those, couldn't you? And that might be quite nice.
Yeah, for other more moneyed markets, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, Audi Allroad. Yes. That's the autumnal car for
Audi
for the UK.
Audi Autumn
Road.
Yeah.
So good. Okay. Well,
if any listeners have found a very early sweet example that's a manual gearbox, don't contact me. I'm not looking to buy one. Okay, I'm not interested, even though I am, but I'm not.
Sit on your hands. There's one I just found, as far as I can see here, there's only one AMC Eagle for sale in the whole of Europe. It's in Italy. It looks amazing, but it is 29,000 euros.
Get in the sea.
So you've got to really love autumn to be...
No, I found one last year in Scotland, and it was in very good condition for 8. And
Oh, really?
Yeah, I should have just fired it off to the Franchitti brothers and just said, why don't you piss off up to Scotland and fetch that for me?
What a great opening gambit. Why don't you two piss off up to Scotland?
Yes.
Go back to where you're from.
Yeah, exactly. But come back soon with an AMC.
I couldn't see. You see either of those two in an AMC Eagle? I don't know. I mean, yeah, maybe.
I think they could look really autumnal together, and... I think, can you imagine the double take? You're driving through the Scottish Highlands and you see a car you never see coming the other way. And as you slow down and peer in, you go, hang on, is that who I think it is?
Is that, hang on?
Is that multiple Indy car champion driving around and it's just a weird old 80s 4x4? What?
Do you know, I'm revising my opinion of this because Dario has a US sensibility, having lived there and been multiply victorious in motorsport there.
Yes.
So he's tuned into American things.
Yes.
And B, he does like a quirky car sometimes. Mm-hmm. E.g. that Rolls-Royce shooting brake that he's got.
Of course.
C, he is totally down with a 4-wheel drive vehicle for use in the cooler months because he's got his Integrale.
Yes, he has.
About in.
Yeah.
So, yes. All right, Dario, could you please buy an AMC Eagle because we want you to.
That's true. And Marino's got one of these 300 series Land Cruisers.
He has, hasn't he?
You know, the current ones, the oldie looking ones. That's kind of that lovely beige, sandy beige, I think, colour.
I love it that some racing drivers certainly, they can talk about handling and the finer nuances of track performance all they like, but I love it when they then default to something that doesn't actually have pin sharp handling for road work, because they know as well as we do that there's more to cars than just handling. There's a sort of you go for an overall vibe and a feel and something that does the job you need from it, and so you're not constantly door handling it, even if you're Marino.
Exactly.
And, he's just gone for something that's doing a good job and also has a good vibe about it. I imagine. I've not driven on these new Land Cruisers, have you?
No, I've not, embarrassingly. I tried to drive them when they first came out and couldn't get the timings to work, blah, 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 and it's one of those cars.
It's not that embarrassing. I don't imagine people are pointing at you in the street and going, there goes that guy who hasn't driven the new Land Cruiser, are they? I know what you mean. It's like you're going to go, oh, I feel like I should have done my job here and checked this out since it's a kind of hot car of the moment. But
I've thought of a French autumnal car.
Oh.
Yeah. What about the Peugeot 505 brake/estate dangle 4x4?
Oh, yes.
I mean, imagine that, but in like bronze. It's got to be bronze, hasn't it? Brown.
Yeah, I think you could at some point get 505s in a sort of brownie. Yeah.
You have to be a GRD. GERD.
Oh, yes, I suppose so. Yeah. Yeah.
I like the GERD. I think it would have to. It's just sort of like Cornish people saying good.
That's right, good. I mean, because dangle, they were sort of after production conversion.
Yeah.
So I suppose you could have any engine in one of those. But yeah, you're probably right. The diesel maybe would suit it. I was just thinking I would err towards the V6 just because why not? But
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the parasitic drain on through the transmission is going to be biblical, isn't it?
I think so. There's quite a lot of friction in there. I don't know. Honestly, don't know.
It's a cool car, though. Really, really cool car.
Okay, well, now, since we're sort of talking about cars unusually,
I know, sorry.
I need to bring up, the past few weeks, I have been driving a couple of Polestars, or as I think we established it's pronounced Polestar, but
Polestar. Yeah,
I started seeing loads of the one with no back window around.
Yeah,
because I think they're doing some reasonably keen finance deals on them, so they seem to be getting out there. But then I realised there's also the other one, which is the really handsome. Basically, it's an estate car. It's trying to sort of pretend it's an SUV because that's what people buy, but it's I'd say it's closer to an estate, and all the better for it. The thing that confuses me is that the estatey big one is called the 3, and the smaller, cheaper one with no back window is the 4.
Doesn't make sense to me.
It doesn't make sense. So it's because basically, so it's the order they come out in, which is it just doesn't make sense. People aren't paying attention to what order you launch cars in.
Yeah,
obviously it started with the Polestar 1, which was originally a Volvo concept car because Polestar grew out of Volvo and it's now a separate company but still owned by Geely and blah blah. So the one was a Volvo concept car. It became the first Polestar. It was their only car they ever made with an internal combustion engine because it was a hybrid, like a sort of super high performance hybrid. I found out something quite interesting about the Polestar one the other day because there was one for sale on Pistonheads quite recently.
Yeah,
which was the one formerly owned or used by Chris Harris. I'm not quite sure if he ever actually sort of fully owned. I really don't know. But it is, in fact, still for sale on Pistonheads. £99,990. Hooey.
Well, I'd do a Part X with something.
Anyway, so
mine.
This is a bit weird because it doesn't say this in the advert, but the belief was that this is the only one on the road in the UK, which seems to be true. However, there seem to also be another 3 or 4. And in fact, they're in a compound somewhere in England just being sat on because seemingly nobody wants them.
Polestar 1s?
Yeah. If you look on how many left, it shows up. Sometimes it shows 5 cars, sometimes it shows 4. Bit weird, but depending on which quarter you look at.
But have they tried selling it?
Well, this is the thing. I don't think they have. They're just sitting there, and apparently they've been there for ages, like as in measurable in years.
Well, that's ridiculous.
So if this car is for sale for near as damn it 100 grand, I assume those other ones are still owned by Polestar. If there are 4 of them, there is, in theory, 400 grand sitting in a compound.
Well, Polestar,
I suppose the problem is
talk to me.
No one's buying this one for 100 grand, so they're not worth 400 grand. That's the problem, really. Nobody wants them.
I'd like to have a go in one and maybe try and help Polestar sell those 4. If you want to get in touch with me, Polestar.
Ask nicely. They might. Unless, of course, Polestar have forgotten they're there. I wasn't told this by someone who works for Polestar, so...
Right, okay.
But yeah, they are there. Apparently one of them is damaged. Someone backed into it. and gashed the carbon fibre bodywork. So that probably not that one.
I love that one.
Fix.
I love that one.
Okay.
Yeah, I love that one.
This would conform to your dream for mechanically perfect but cosmetically shagged cars.
Yes.
So you could have a Polestar one with a hole in it.
It's more. Yes.
So anyway, apparently the one's very impressive, and Monkey seemed to be really, really smitten with his, although not so smitten that he's still got it. But that was all fine. It was always a limited run sort of flagship.
I thought it'd be a great everyday car. That's what I was going to ask him about. Using it every day, I think it would be fantastic.
Well, it's plug-in, isn't it? So you could tootle about on electricity, but then when you wanted to go hell for leather, it's got loads of power. So it'd be interesting car.
Swedish Stang, wasn't it? We all thought it was the Swedish Mustang.
Car.
Looks-wise,
they're nice looking. I suppose they're not sort of flashy though. That's the thing. Maybe people spending $100,000 want a bit more flash. I don't really know.
And when you leave a Cars and Coffee event, you do it silently, and you're almost so polite. You're one of these people that, as you're leaving a car park, you offer the ticket because you've accidentally bought 9 hours of extra time, and you go, "Oh, I don't need this." Yeah. Does anybody? I always thought those people were heroes. I don't know if people still do it now.
Well, they often put your reg on the ticket, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
To stop that.
Yeah.
It's just so joyless, isn't it? Spoiling people's attempts to be human and nice to each other.
Well, maybe we need
nice to strangers is an underrated thing.
Maybe we should all keep Tipex in the glove box for that exact reason.
Or a tiny dot matrix printer, so you could just go, "Hey, mate, do you need a parking? Tell me your reg, and I'll put it on this ticket for you."
Yeah, I'm not saying that. I'm not telling everybody to fraudulently create car parking passes.
We don't want to besmirch the impeccable reputation and integrity of the parking industry in Britain, do we?
No, Richard, we don't, because they're lovely.
They're fine, upstanding people. Anyway, so Polestar 1 was the flagship, and then the Polestar 2 came out, and it's all electric, and it's like, that was a really nice car, I thought.
It was.
And it felt like it had something. You go, oh yeah, it's got this very sort of Scandinavian-y feel to the interior design and stuff, and all these recycled materials and things like that in there. And on the outside, it's very tasteful. It's sort of whiff of Volvo about it, but also I always thought a little sort of hint of what Saab might have become as well.
Totally. We had one on display at one of our Late Break Show live events, the one in Manchester.
Oh.
Polestar kindly brought one along and displayed it. Yeah, it was really nice. Yeah.
Well, so I was a bit like, I've just started seeing these new Polestars around. I have no idea what they're like. So I borrowed a 3 first of all. I really like the way that looks. I think it's very handsome. It's got this really interesting bonnet arrangement with a sort of S-duct in it, which you don't expect to see on a big family car, but I think it's kind of cool. And it's there for aero reasons. And the rest of it
S-duct
is very handsome, I think. I mean, it's big, for one thing. But it's also, the one I tested was the long-range dual motor. It's just under 76 grand basic, but then you stick a load of bits and pieces on it, like I had on the press car I borrowed. And as tested, it was 90 grand. Ooh. And it's like, gosh, that's a lot, isn't it? For anything, really. But it just felt, it's weird, but although it feels decent quality, it doesn't feel sensational in the way that 90 grand ought to. Yeah. So it's sort of, it's one of the things that's interesting about it is I sort of first drove it just in normal mode, and it's got adaptive air suspension, and it felt quite boaty, and I was like, oh my God, they've set this up like an old 240 estate or something. It's got a definite sort of heave to it. But it is weirdly, in fact, I heard Matt and Zach on the Smoking Tire talking about this the other week, about cars that actually are better in sport mode, because a lot of cars aren't. They're just sort of set up to feel sort of aggressive, but it's a kind of marketing thing.
Yeah.
This Polestar 3, you stick the chassis in a more aggressive setting, the ride really doesn't get much worse, if at all. You don't notice particularly the ride changing, but the body control gets much better, and so you just leave it in that all the time, and then it's actually really quite impressive. And I came back from somewhere, and they'd closed a bit of motorway, and they sent you across country, and I had to do this, and I just wanted to get home.
Yeah.
And so I thrashed it across the countryside towards Bath at night. It was really quiet, just wanted to get home. gave it a bit of a whipping, and it was really impressive, strangely. It was like, it kind of, you'd think it would be too big and too wallowy to do this, but you can really lob it about, and it's four-wheel drive because it's got two motors and all this sort of stuff. So that, I was actually like, oh. I mean, the converse is that it's a big family car and you're probably not going to drive it like that, but it's interesting to know you can. The other good bits, it's very quiet, it's all electric, and it's well sealed, and it has active noise cancelling as well, and so I think it's just, combine those all, it's a very, very quiet car. And then it has this absolutely kick-ass stereo that if you play stuff that's compatible with Dolby Atmos, it is really, really good. I think, what do they call it? Fidelity, I think. You can hear all these individual parts in music and stuff, so that's good.
It's perfect in an EV. Perfect.
Yes, well, exactly. I think you've already got this kind of canvas of quietness, and then you've got very, very clear, crisp sound. It's very, very good. The problem is that if you go to do absolutely anything that lasts more than about half a second on the touchscreen, the attention monitor bollocks you. It's like this is your touchscreen car, and now you're telling me off for using it. And of course, everything's on the fucking touchscreen. So basically, driving this car is just constantly being told off.
I absolutely hate that. When all you're trying to do is to, I don't know, make your temperature 2 degrees more.
Yes,
not fair.
Everything. It's got this massive portrait screen, and it's almost too big because you're sort of having to move your hand around all over the place to do stuff. And I just don't think that the interface is not as logical as it should be. Even after a week, I did a lot of miles in that car, so I got very familiar with it, and I still couldn't find my way around stuff that it just felt illogical in the way it was arranged. I also think that generally and electronically, it is not finished.
Yeah, we've had this conversation, haven't we, before?
It's because that's the thing, there's a lot of this stuff can be fixed with a software update.
So do it.
Lo and behold is what Volvo seems to be doing with their stuff. The EX30 apparently is sort of getting slowly better, and the same with the EX90 now. But that's not the way to do these things. Just don't release them till they're finished. Otherwise, you just piss people off and they won't come back for more.
Don't say stuff like that. You get a letter from Land Rover.
Have you had a letter from Land Rover?
No, not yet, but I'm fully expecting one. I'm fully expecting more than a letter, but...
So anyway, yeah, the electronics, like stuff like just things that other people manage to get right so well that it just seems effortless. Like every time you get in, the wireless CarPlay connects so seamlessly. That's the way the car is. And this, it doesn't. And the keyless... Every so often you walk up to it, it's got those little deployable handles that, little flaps come out. And, and it senses you walking up, and the handles live. Sometimes they don't, and you're standing there. The key is just a little black puck. There's no buttons on it, so you can't override that way. So you just stand there. Sometimes you have to walk away from your own car and then go back to it in the hope it's remembered to let you in. Yeah. Which is deeply frustrating. And I think if you owned it, what you're supposed to do is use an app the way that I have on my Tesla, which I'd say works near as damn it flawlessly. I don't know, didn't get a chance to test the Polestar app to see how that does. But if it can't recognise the key, I don't know why it would recognise the phone any more than that. I guess the phone app would just give you an override button to manually unlock. But then what's the point? It's like you shouldn't have to do that. So it just feels like it just needs more work. And there's some really weird things. Like it has that all the buttons on the steering wheel are unlabelled.
What? Why?
Well, exactly why. Well, so it's also not like, sort of Land Rovers and things have hidden until lit. And so it's like if you activate the cruise control, then the cruise control things light up, and that's all very neat and whizzy. But it's not that. These are never labelled. It'll suddenly, in the little display ahead of you that's got the speedo in it, it will suddenly tell you what a given button will do if you need it. It's needlessly complicated, and some of the buttons, as far as I could work out, never do anything. So the cruise control has got adaptive cruise, radar, all the rest of it. It's the only car with that system I think I've ever driven that has no facility to adjust the distance of the car in front.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm looking for the button that might do that. But what I'm actually doing is jabbing at these unlabelled buttons because who knows what they do. And there is nothing. And I looked this up, and apparently, no, there isn't a way in the Polestar 3 at the moment of adjusting the cruise distance. And it is set by default to quite a big distance for safety. But it also just means that people are constantly cutting into the gap in front of you.
And then you're doing this weird, jerky emergency
and then you're
stop
having
thing.
to slow. Yes, exactly. So it becomes very frustrating. And I assume that they've left them unlabeled because a software update, I guess, could introduce that functionality. I can't see any reason why not. And then these buttons will become the ones that you do the gap with. But it's a really cock-assed system, and I just don't know why they've done that. It's not user-friendly. It's actually very frustrating. And I think you would get used to it, but then they'll do a software update and everything will change, or you'll get new functionality you didn't know was there. It's it's just not been thought through to the degree you would want.
I did a road trip in the Lotus Elettra, which is a similar-sized kind of genre car, really. And we filmed most of it, drove up to Scotland. This was last year. Yeah, last year. And we had to abandon the shoot, and I never put the video out because the car stranded us.
Oh, yes.
Because of I didn't know what was wrong, but it basically wouldn't it let me into the car, but it wouldn't let the car start. The car would not start, so it was just sitting there. It was a real shame because it was actually a very good car to drive. There was a lot to like about it, but it turns out that it was the battery in this little puck thing, key, and it would notoriously do this. A few other owners have said, "Oh yeah, it uses so much battery power just keeping the puck," but also the puck is so ergonomic and rounded, it slips into your pocket really easily. But what we think is happening is that your arse cheek or your thigh is constantly pressing a button of the key, which means it's using all of its battery all of the time. And so you'll get you'll put a brand new battery in and it'll last like 5 months.
Yeah, that's not great.
It doesn't tell you what's wrong with it. It just won't let you use the car, and that's what unfortunately that's what happened to us. So I just want a key in a hole again, Rich, which you've got with your Dacia, haven't you?
Yes, I know. It's a joy. So, one final criticism of the Polestar 3 is that, and this is just, it's got loads of room in it, right? The rear legroom is really impressive, as you'd hope, because it's a big car, but it's just got very sort of limo-style rear legroom. But the back seat is too low.
Oh, yes.
It is ridiculous. It's worse than my previous benchmark for back seats that are too low, which is the Discovery 5. This is much worse than that. It's so bad that my daughter, who's 8, complained about it without me mentioning anything. She just went, "Dad, why is this? I'm sitting on the floor. What's going on? It's too low down." And I was like, I know it is, yeah. Because
Murky QS was like that for me.
Oh, was it? I think this is, the car has to get higher because they need room to fit the battery pack in the floor, but then they don't want the roof to be too high. Yeah. But then the only way to get decent rear headroom, because then the roof line is going to start dropping down for aero, which is important in EVs. Yeah. The only way to get decent rear headroom is to put the back seat cushion on the fucking floor, and it's like, that's not comfortable.
No, it's not comfortable.
If an 8-year-old is complaining about it, that's wrong.
It's basic ergonomics.
So I thought that's just a real oversight that can't be fixed with a software update, and it's a shame. So I did a lot of miles in that 3, and I was impressed with the way that you can chuck it about, and I think it's a very handsome car, but I otherwise had very little love for it. I found it frustrating and underdeveloped. So I was
not 90 grand. Love.
And not 90. If I paid 90 grand, or the monthlies on them are really chunky as well. If I was forking over a lot of cash for that, I think I'd be a bit upset that it's not there yet. It's fine to say it's a work in progress, but it's like you shouldn't be selling a work in progress to that degree.
No.
So I was kind of interested by the 4 that I borrowed afterwards, because that's a totally different platform. Weirdly, it is shorter than the 3, but has a longer wheelbase.
This is so confusing, isn't it?
It's so confusing, and it has a higher number in its name, but it's cheaper.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense to me. You know, the BMW 7 Series is always going to be bigger and more expensive than the 5. It sort of has to be. That's the way it is. Yeah. Otherwise, nothing means anything. In the same way that Audi put those silly numbers on the back of cars, which nobody understood, and has finally realised that it's a shit idea, so they've taken them off.
And then had to drop them again.
Yeah.
I borrowed a long-range single-motor Polestar 4, so rear-wheel drive, but big battery. That's the other thing. The 3, the range wasn't particularly impressive, I thought. It's got a huge battery. It's 111 kilowatt hour, and it's
that is enormous.
And I had a bit of a mare charging it, but I'll blame that on the charging network rather than. But I put it on charge, a combination of massive battery and a charger that wasn't giving anywhere near what it was supposed to be able to get to.
Yeah,
I had one of those. I just want to go now moments at motorway services, and I haven't had one of those with an EV for quite a while.
Yeah,
sitting for ages. But anyway, so that was with the 3. But with the 4, the range is genuinely very impressive. Software-wise, it just feels like it needs more work, but it does at least have a more logical system for the buttons on the wheel. You can adjust the distance on the cruise control. The no back window thing, obviously, then you've got the rear view mirror is a screen fed by a camera. Those systems just don't work as well as mirrors.
No, they don't.
If you are of a certain age and your eyes are a little tired, the need to refocus from looking ahead at the road to a screen, it is like putting your phone a little bit too close to your face and then going, I've got to blink and readjust there. There are too many times when you look at the mirror and you just go, it takes a second for your eyes to refocus. And you know what doesn't take a second for your eyes to refocus? It's a fucking mirror. Yeah.
No, it's so true. And cheaper, and doesn't need any power.
It doesn't need any power, can't go wrong, and doesn't get, for example, slightly, it's just not quite good enough at night sometimes with the headlights behind you.
I agree.
In a sort of low light, murky day, the camera, obviously, its aperture and everything is adjusting and trying to compensate for light and doing what cameras do. But then a police car came up behind me on the motorway, and I didn't initially see the flashing lights because they weren't bright enough. It's like the camera had compensated for them and dimmed them down. So I was one of those knobheads who doesn't let a police car through in a timely manner, which I hate.
Oh, good for you, Rich. So well done for that.
That fucks me off for a start. But also, the reason they've given it no back window, I mean, this is going to be a coming fashion for a lot of cars, and I think we have to fight it while we can. But
it's aero, isn't it? Or headroom?
Well, it's aero, and also one of the given reasons is that at the top of a back window, particularly with a hatchback, you need a cross member.
For rigidity, for bracing.
For rigidity and strength, safety and everything. So that would have to be further forward if there was a window there, otherwise the top of the window would be too low. Mm-hmm. If you get rid of the back window, you can move that cross member down, thereby giving more rear headroom.
Yeah.
But because I'm a boring man, I always try and sit in the back of test cars and things like that to see what they're like back there. I sat in the back of the Polestar 4. The rear seat is too low again.
It's just a lot of compromises here.
Yeah, where's this headroom benefit? If you're still sitting on the floor, it just doesn't make any sense. And in the meantime, you've got this compromise. What is quite nice is that you sit further back, I think. So you are sitting sort of noticeably back from the rear edge of the doors. So it does create this quite cosy sort of royal limousine feel, which is appealing. And it didn't feel horribly claustrophobic there without the lights from the back, because you've got a panoramic roof. But I don't know that that is a benefit enough compared to the annoyance of the mirror. And it's like, I had that car for a week. I did a lot of miles in it. It's like you sort of get used to it, but then again, you don't, because it's just, technically your eyes still have to adjust sometimes. When you just do a little flick glance at a mirror, that's all you need to do, but you can't. You have to look at it for longer. It's frustrating. And I think the rest of the car is fine.
Yeah.
I want it to be better because I like the idea of Polestar. I like the idea of, they're kind of a Scandinavian. They're a Chinese company. They're owned by Geely.
But if they just did an estate version of the Polestar 2, because the Polestar 2 is still the best looking Polestar if you ignore the Polestar 1. If they just brought out an estate and went, we're Volvo, basically, and we do good estates, and everyone knows our estates from over the decades, and we're cool. And by the way, the Polestar 2 is a pretty solid product. It's probably their most reliable product. So just build a long roof version. Here you go, and it's like $4,000 more than the saloon that's been out now for 5 years, or whatever it is.
I don't know.
If they'd just done that, we'd all go, yeah, that's cool. And you can put some dirty rims on it if you want. You can put it on some chunkier tyres if you want. You can put it on some all-roady cross-country bumpers with black arches and all that vajazzle. I'd be down with that. I think there's so much, and we shouldn't talk about the car industry this much on our podcast because we get told off, but I think there's so much overcomplication of product at the detriment of it not being engaging, not being passionate, not being memorable. There's so much that's just going to end up in the bin, and it's quite hard to not get jaded about it as a journalist. I personally think.
I think that Polestars seem to have got into this situation where everything makes sense to them because they think about it all day and all week and all year.
Mm.
But to a normal punter, it is very hard to understand their range. It is very hard to understand what their cars are equivalent to if you are cross-shopping.
Yes.
Because you're not a brand loyalist, you just need a car.
Yeah.
I mean, this thing, it's my bloody job to know this stuff, and I'm still not entirely clear what a Polestar 4 is supposed to be a rival to. It is a nice-looking car from the front. I think that back, I sort of weirdly sort of hunched shoulder look at the back, or even a slight whiff of the shitting dog look. Epitomised by the Chrysler Crossfire.
I saw one of those the other week. I saw one.
You?
Yeah, I saw one. I was following it on the motorway. I stayed on its rear three-quarter for some time because I've never thought that they're hideous. I've always thought there's worse out there. They get a bad rap.
Kind of interesting, weren't they? They were trying.
But then I'm somebody that doesn't think the Chrysler PT Cruiser's the worst car in the world. I know several people that bought them and they found them to be very, very reliable and enjoyable. So I was like, okay.
I remember the PT Cruiser having quite a nice gear change, the manual one.
Yeah.
And sort of surprisingly direct steering.
Yeah.
I remember driving on and going, oh, this is not total dog shit. I mean, there was lots about it that was dog shit. But anyway, so I was going to say, I took a profile photo of the Polestar 4 and it sort of did like a 1-minute Photoshop job of trying to make it into a kind of shooting brake, just extend the back out.
Yeah.
Because I thought it would make more sense somehow like that. And I'll stick this photo on our Patreon, but I think it was actually... it would look better like that. There is no advantage that I can see to the way that they've done it. I don't get it. I just don't get it. I
think that manufacturers and designers are trying to find new shapes when they don't need to. And if they believe, if I believe what I'm told, which is if you don't call it an SUV, it won't sell, then just call everything an SUV, but then let the adults look at it with their eyes and decide whether we think that the manufacturers are lying or not, and go, hang on,
adults look at it with their eyes.
That's just a coupe. You're lying to me. No, it's an SUV. It's like when Jag released the I-Pace. They went, it's an SUV, and I went, it's not though, is it? They went, yes, it is. And then they quietly went, look, they'd be like, look, Jonny, we've got to tell the world it's an SUV, otherwise Americans won't buy it. And I'm like, oh, okay. But it's not an SUV, though, is it? No. Okay.
Anyway, so there we go. I was really disappointed with both of those Polestars. I think I sort of like the idea of Scandinavian design sensibilities with the EV prowess of a Chinese company.
Yeah.
Actually, they have an engineering centre in Coventry as well. So you'd hope it's like,
yes, they do, don't they?
British engineers tend to be really good at ride and handling, and you could combine those.
I was going to tell you about the time. I'm pretty sure I've never told you about the time that my neighbour threw a Honda step-through over the garden fence into my garden. Did I ever tell you about that?
No.
Well, because
I think I'd remember if you had.
It just suddenly occurred to me. This was my first house when I lived up in the Stamford area. When I first moved up here from London, got relocated with EMAT magazines, and I was renting. And I was marvelling at the fact that I had a back garden because I lived in a flat in London.
Yeah.
I got chatting to the next door neighbour. He was a really friendly guy. Bless him, he's no longer alive. And I'm pretty sure he was called Basil. And always very chatty. Had a very old school smell to him, like a musty smell. And would... I don't. He'd be out gardening a lot, and there was a smell of mustiness and vinegar to him. But he was a very lovely guy. Anyway, I noticed one day
TCP.
Yes,
people like that's often like TCP, don't they? For some reason,
that's right. TCP. Yeah. So we were doing the leaning on the garden fence, chatting once on a very hot summer's day. And I noticed at the end of his garden, which was quite overgrown, he was cutting it back. And I said, I didn't know you had a pond. And he went, yeah, I've been neglecting it for a while. He's sort of one of those houses where the first half of the garden's quite formal, a long, thin garden. And the second half of the garden's a little bit more fallow, should we say, and forgotten.
Yeah, I think that's a legitimate look. I like that look.
It occurred to me the other day, I found in the office, I've got a couple of shelves where I keep my barn find tools and starter packs and all that jazz. And I found a lovely little vinyl sheath with HM on it. It was blue and it was Honda. And I opened it and it had little Honda pliers, spark plug tool, a 10mm spanner, I think it was. And I was like, where have I got this from? And then I suddenly light bulb pinged and went, oh, that's from that step through that got thrown over into my garden by the next door neighbour. And so this guy, Basil, as he was clearing the garden, I noticed that there was a Honda step through in his back garden that he'd kind of like pulled all the weeds around. I went, I've never noticed that. Is that yours? He goes, yeah, I used to go, before I retired, this is what I used to go to work on. He said, it was my third one. I bought it new. And I went, oh my gosh, how long has it been in the back garden? He went, oh, I don't know. It's been in the back garden now for about 8 years, 10 years. I said, poor thing. And it had rusted, like the mud guard and the wheels were quite rusted through. And it was really sad. And he went, I don't think it's done that many miles, actually. So I went, well, what are you going to do with it? And he went, I don't know why. Why? Because he knows I like old cars. I had my Oldsmobile Cutlass parked outside that summer. And he went, well, you can have it if you want. I went, oh, well, yeah, I might do. I mean, the engines are good. I could probably use the engine for something because it was a 70, I think. Anyway, I went out that afternoon to do whatever 23-year-olds do, which I think was I think my mate had stolen his dad's speedboat and we were trying to do wakeboarding. and I came back as the sun was getting low and I was getting ready to go out on the town. And I noticed that there was the step through was in the middle of the garden. And I was like, and bear in mind the fence was over 2 meters high.
What?
But between my garden and his garden, it was over 2 meters high. You had to stand on something to see the person. Okay, so I knocked on the door and Basil opened the door and he was smiling. And I said, he said, have you seen it? I said, yeah, thanks for thanks for putting it in my garden. He said, yeah, he said, well, I'm having a bit of a clear out, and if you want it, he said, I found the key as well. You can have the key. Found the ignition key. I said, Basil, how did you get it into the garden? Because it's a motorbike, and you can't there's no side gate in my garden. You couldn't get down the side. You had to go through either the house or through the garage, which was locked. He said, oh, I just threw it over. I said, what? Now, at this point, he will have been in probably his 80s, maybe 80.
Wow. So
I kind of went, oh, all right. Went into the back garden just before, like, putting on my aftershave and hitting the town hard. I tried to bench press this step through because I thought, well, if he's 80 and he's thrown it over this fence, I must be able to do it. I'm a young guy. I barely could pick it off the ground. Barely. I think he was some sort of like Olympic hammer thrower in the 60s, and he just hadn't told me. This thing was really rather heavy. I mean, even a light motorbike is a heavy thing. But anyway, so I had this step through. Long story short, I ended up chopping it down and keeping the engine and gearbox and stuff, and took a few bits off it, and swapped it with a neighbour who was quite feral because he wanted the engine for a go-kart. And yeah, so it lives on in a go-kart, but I've still got the tool wrap, and bless Basil, who is no longer with us. I'm still wondering how he had the strength to do that. I simply don't know to this day. So there we go.
Can we just take a little dive into Book Corner just to give a shout-out to my old executive producer, Andy Wilman, who has a book out which is called Mr. Wilman's Motoring Adventure, and it is basically it's Andy's memories of Top Gear and the Grand Tour, but also prefaced by a little bit about how he first met Clarkson at school and how they grew up together, and how they came to reinvent Top Gear in 2002 and then moved to Amazon and the Grand Tour. So it's covering a lot of the same ground as my And on That Bombshell book about my time on Top Gear, but I think it's from someone else's perspective, so it's got slightly different stories sometimes. I was very relieved that it has the same stories but told by somebody else, because it means that I wasn't misremembering or imagining shit or making things up, which would have been embarrassing, because I'd say that in general our memories are the same, which probably means everything is accurate. But of course Andy also covers the Grand Tour, which I didn't. And every so often people go, when are you going to do a book about the Grand Tour? But quite honestly, I don't think it's worth a whole book on its own, because it wasn't that interesting. It was like, the Top Gear story has got a lot more twists and turns, and this sort of slow rise from this sort of quite khaki show where we didn't know what we were doing to suddenly this kind of globe-straddling behemoth that we never intended it to be.
There was more uncertainty, wasn't there, with Top Gear?
It's like some stuff happened on the Grand Tour that was very amusing, and we had some great times, but it's just, I don't think it's interesting to read. There's not really a kind of story arc there. There's just, we did it, and then we did it again, and we did this and that. And
were people less hungry for it?
There's possibly an element of that, yes. I mean, there are some good tales to be told, but I think that's the thing. You would put them into a book with the Top Gear story as well, because it's a continuum, which is what Andy's done, and done very well. And people who've seen Andy being interviewed or have ever encountered him in real life will know he's a very funny and charming man, and his book is likewise. It's hard for me to detach from the person when reading the book, because obviously I know him very well, so I hear it in his voice, and it is very authentically in his voice, as you'd expect. So it's I would heartily recommend it, but I ask you, if you go and buy it, please buy my book as well if you haven't already. You will find them, I'd say, complimentary. They're two. If you can bear to read that much about Top Gear, then read them both and compare notes. But if you've already read my book, I heartily recommend Andy's as well. There's stuff in there I'd forgotten. There's stuff in there I never knew about, little details. Andy obviously was in there negotiating the deal with Amazon and things like that. The only thing I have a beef with, and I've told him this, is that he blames me rightly for the crap idea of having the guests come on the Grand Tour in the first series and then get killed off before they make it to the stage. But what I think he gets wrong, he disputes this still. My memory is that the lawyers at Amazon said, you can't have guests. That's too like Top Gear. We don't want to do anything that will anger the BBC and cause them to get on our backs with their lawyers. So you can't have guests. And we had this meeting, I remember vividly, in Jeremy's office, and it was Jeremy, Rich and James, Andy, me, I think maybe a couple of our producers were there, or Phil, our series director. And the agenda was basically, what do we do about the fact we can't have guests? Because that creates a slug of studio in the middle of the show that's good for sort of pacing and all this different voice in the show, blah, blah, blah. And also, what do we do about the outside space that you can see through the windows from this tent we've had made? Because at the moment we have it and we never use it. We've no plans to use it. What do we do? And those are the two main things on the agenda for the meeting. And partway through, as a kind of joke, just to make people in the room laugh, I said, what if every week a guest turns up outside in that space, but before they can make it to the tent itself, they're run over by a bin lorry or something like that? And there was a polite titter in the room, and then we carried on talking, and then Jeremy suddenly went, wait, I can't get past what Porter just said. That's brilliant. We should do that. And suddenly we were doing it. And it was only really meant as a joke, but it was also to address the fact that we'd been told not to have guests. Andy claims it was just an idea I had and we did it in lieu of having the people actually sit down and talk to them. And I swear that's not true. And I called him a knobhead for blaming
very
me
northern for calling him that. Very northern.
Yeah, I know. I thought that. Well, see, Andy's northern as well, so he understands immediately.
Yeah.
And he wrote back and called me a knobhead. So we still haven't agreed whose memory is correct, but I swear that we were not allowed to have guests, and so we just decided to make a joke out of it, whereas he thinks it was like I decided it was a legitimate format point that could have led to the guest coming on instead. But apart from that, the book's great, and I recommend it. Mr. Wilman's Motoring Adventure.
Oh, I'm gonna read it, because I've only ever met him once. It was at your birthday party. It's the only time I've ever met him.
Is that right? Okay, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, read the book, and you get, I think, actually, in a way, again, it's hard for me to detach because I know Andy well, and but I think maybe you get a sense of the man from the book. My favourite part actually is the early stuff, not just how he met Jeremy, but Andy's a great storyteller in the edit, which is his sort of happy place. He constructs the films, the bits, particularly the later Grand Tour stuff, where it wasn't scripted. It's like there's an idea, we're going to go from here to here, and we're going to do it in these cars, and these things might happen along the way, but there's a lot of just unknown stuff and things that develop on the ground. And that's a nightmare. You have hours and hours of footage, and you have to stitch it together into a cogent tale.
Yeah, that must be really hard.
Andy's greatest strength is weaving those stories. And there's this lovely bit in the book where he talks about, as a kid, he had this uncle who was this master storyteller, and he also paints a picture of who this guy was. And you go, I know that man. That is a man of a certain generation. I have met men like that, sort of just garrulous, funny, can't quite tell how much he's like bullshitting versus reality, but you don't care because it's so charming and enjoyable, and he's got a pint in his hand, and he's just that kind of man. And this uncle, Andy says, instilled in him this fascination with and this love for storytelling. And that, actually, I didn't know that, and I think that's a really sweet detail. It's sort of it's a lovely bit of colour. But equally, there's loads and loads of stuff about Top Gear and the Grand Tour.
Well, that's. I can't recommend a book at the moment. Well, I'm still reading Greg James's book, which I briefly mentioned on page 27. Oh, but apart from that, I was just going to blurt out my excitement of what's happening in the latest Late Break Show video. But I've got to wait for you to tee that up, probably with some horrible, horrible pun involving Marillion.
All right, well, let's do that now. And Jonny is engaged in a very strange project to force the former lead singer of Marillion to walk to the North or South Pole wearing only a thin leather jacket under the working title Frozen Fish. If that's not to your taste, then of course there's the Late Break Show. What's going on over there?
Is Tiff supplying all of the mountaineering wear for that particular
wardrobe by Tiff Niddell?
Tiff phoned me the other day, and I was at the services, and I was stood in the middle of the services. It was quiet, it was at night, but there were people walking by, and we started to have what ended up being a 25-minute conversation about tropical aquarium fish. It's amazing. So in this week's episode off of the Late Break Show, it might be one of my favourite barn finds I've ever done. It might be the best one this year.
Oh,
it is a very special car, right up your Strasser, Porter. It is a Jaguar Lynx Eventer shooting brake.
Oh,
one owner car, V12, and sweet story, sweet lady that has owned it and helped to option it and obviously have it built. And I won't tell you whether we got it going or not, but it cleaned up. It was immaculate, or is immaculate. And I went down this road of doing a little bit of research on Lynx Eventers, which if listeners don't know what they are, have a look or have a watch. It's arguably more attractive than what the XJS is in standard form, but realise that the very first car, the prototype 001 Lynx Eventer, ended up being sold to a music mogul. They use the word mogul, don't they? Which I don't know why.
Always, and only in that context.
It is, isn't it? There's no other moguls apart from ones in skiing.
But you don't go, there's a carpet mogul in our town. He supplies all the cars. It just doesn't work. But music mogul, that makes total
double
sense.
glazing mogul. Anyway, the first car, 001, got sold to a music mogul / producer guy called Rupert Hine. And I did a bit of research on Rupert. He was a musician in his own right, but more successful as a producer. And he ended up working extensively with people like Tina Turner off of the 80s, doing stuff like Private Dancer and Foreign Affair. And he drove and owned that car, and his wife, his widow, still owns it because Rupert passed away, I think, in 2021. But on Rupert's website, there's a farewell Tina Turner. What would you call it?
Eulogy?
Yes, like a eulogy, and it said how lovely she was to work with in the 80s, and he just put, Rupert produced her on the albums Break Every Rule and Foreign Affair, and by all accounts they got on famously. He was so impressed with her ability to take and make a song her own. He used to tell how he would pick her up from her London home in his Lynx Eventer car, pop a cassette of the song that they were going to work on in the car's player, and she would sing along. By the time they reached their farmyard studios in Buckinghamshire, the song was all hers. One take, and he would drive her back again. R.I.P. an incredibly talented and eloquent lady. What a scene that there's painted there.
They're not that spacious, those cars, and the thought of having Tina Turner belting out her vocals in your
point blank range.
It's quite deafening, I'd imagine, but in a wonderful way.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's all cool. Second thing I was going to tell you is just, you can predict this. It's please go and buy my new book, which is called Petrolhead. It's a compilation of my Evo columns from over the years, available from Amazon as a paperback or an ebook, or go to smithandsniff.com. Go to our merch shop. You can buy it there, along with our newest T-shirt design, Trackwork. Also available as a sticker.
Yes.
It's very stylish. We'd be promoting this on the socials ad infinitum, but
I'm very proud of the sticker.
Check that out. I think it's a very good design. What I like is that if you know the reference, then you will enjoy it and may spot a fellow Smith and Sniff listener at a car event wearing it. But if you don't know what it means, you can move unnoticed through the normal world, and that's kind of a win-win, I would say.
Yeah.
And the third thing is that do you know what KP, as in KP Peanuts, stands for?
Keith Penis.
That's right. Okay, that's enough of Smith. No, it's weird. It's Kenyan produce. Kenyan, not as in the country Kenya, but Kenyon was the name of the people who founded the company. But I always thought the P stood for peanuts, and then I realised, well,
that would be Ken's Peanuts.
Yeah, exactly. It's
or VIN number.
You know, it's exactly that. It's
I say VIN number, and I probably should slap myself in the face every time I do it. Do you know,
you don't.
My brother is when he phones up the local motor factors, which I've mentioned previously on this podcast. It's when he said the wheezing guy just goes, "All right, mate, you got a plate. You got a plate." And my brother's like, "Look, don't worry about the registration. I've got the part number." He goes, "Yeah, but have you got a plate?" And he's like, No, it's not going to work in this instance because the car's a bit unusual. Just here's the part number," and the bloke won't go beyond phase one of his work protocol, which is take the registration number. It drives my brother mad. No, I'm not giving you the plate. I'm going to give you the part number, the exact part number of the thing I'm asking for. That's it. Got a plate, mate. Got a plate.
All right, well, on that note, time to end. Thank you ever so much for listening. We'll see you on Friday for an Autosort. The normal show again on Monday. Until then, goodbye.
Bye, guys.
So you've enjoyed this podcast, but you've had a thought. Is there a way here today that you could show support? Well, you could join our Patreon, what wonders that it brings. Early shows and extra notes on that side of things. You could buy our merchandise, we've mugs and hats but still no ties. One day we will make those pies, but in the meantime, guys, hey guys, like and subscribe, and maybe leave a nice review. Like and subscribe, we know you know just what to do. Like and subscribe, we don't want to take the piss. Like and subscribe, but we were told to ask for this. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe.
Cheers, mate. Thanks, mate. Bye. Got a plate.